do you. Be yourself, and that's the best thing you can do for anything that surrounds you. Anytime you try to copy something or maybe you're not being genuine to yourself. So when he said do you, as simple as it is.
Last month, one of my friends quoted an MF Doom bar at me, and it got me thinking about what really makes some music or art actually stick.
Well, I say if you want to do music, I would say just stay original and come from your heart. And hopefully you like doing it, because it's gonna be a lot of ups and downs. I wouldn't change it for the world.
These days, it's very easy to get stuck in the idea that we need to jump on content trends or find some kind of niche that's gonna work within popular culture if we wanna make something that becomes quote unquote successful. But if that's the energy by which we actually approach making our art, what's the chance that we're gonna make anything that's meaningful or is actually gonna break through? And also, even if we do find some kind of success with it, honestly, what is the meaning of that success gonna be if we're simply performing an iteration of something that somebody else could have done anyway?
He rhymes as weird as I feel. I don't know if that makes any sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, I swear to God, when I saw that Mad Villain record, I bought it on vinyl. I didn't even have a record player. I bought it on vinyl just to stare at the album. And I stared at it and I just kept going, I understand it. But it's like, I understand.
Perhaps it is due to this seminal connection that audiences can relate their experience in life with the villains and their dastardly doings.
Like when your fans listen to your stuff, you know, they hear something different, definitely, you know. What kind of experiences have you had that kind of like led you to kind of follow that route?
Like when Biggie first came out, it was straight underground party and bullshit. I remember hearing that shit on nothing but underground stations, you know what I'm saying? We'd never hear that shit on radio. But then he kept his style really rugged, the same way he had it. But then somewhere along the line, he passed into mainstream. But if it's raw, it's raw.
This video quite simply is going to try and focus us on thinking about what actually makes our creative energy, our creative approach truly individual.
If you don't live it and it's not a part of you, it's not going to come out of the instrument. What we play is life. What we create is life. The quality of the human being, the quality of the vessel, even a broken vessel, which is oftentimes the most effective, the most relatable, the most universal. But there has to be that space in you that you've saved that is the sacred space. It doesn't have to be, of course, there are great ways to cultivate.
What matters is to know what you want and pursue it and understand that it's going to be hard.
What inspires me, man, to my style and why, I would say if you had to be an individual, if we was looking at people as individuals, I would say me.
But before we jump in here, I want to give a quick note to this week's sponsor, and that's ClickUp, the free all-in-one productivity and project management tool where you can tackle all your professional and creative tasks in a single spot. I've been experimenting with ClickUp for just over a month now, and I've got to a place where it is almost always the first thing that I open up when I jump on my computer to get some work done. For creative mind stuff, I love the simple way that I can track the progress of tasks, add useful notes to speed things up, and just see everything I need to do really clearly. On my overview, you'll see that I also include my own writing projects, ideas for other things that I might be thinking about at the time, and a place to track how I'm moving forward with the piano stuff that I'm doing. As I say, I'm using ClickUp in one specific way, but the reality of this tool is that it's super flexible and powerful whilst still being fast and simple enough to set up quite easily. And if you wanted to check out the benefits of ClickUp yourself, now is a great time to give it a try, because ClickUp is free to get started, and by using my link, tryclickup.co/creative minds, and using the code creative minds, you'll also get 20% off of your first year on unlimited and business plans when you're ready to upgrade. A huge thanks to ClickUp for supporting the work that I do on Creative Minds. And yeah, a big thanks for anyone who follows through and goes and checks it out. And with that said, back to the video.
Every time I set my mind to do something, I would say, anytime I set my mind on a goal, I stay at it and go at it. So it's like a straight shot. The straight line being, it's a path. It's a Siratul Mustaqim, the path of the righteous. It's not easy to balance on that string though. It's a lot of discipline involved and, you know, morals, ethics. But if you keep within that path, you'll hit your goal. That's the most direct path to any goal or so-called dream that you could ever have.
I talk quite a lot about how the culture of the creative industries can end up leading us into certain ways that we might feel that we need to express ourselves, especially if we're looking to find that quote-unquote success or mass distribution with our work. But finding what makes us truly unique is often going to be a process of trying to unplug from those mass cultural products.
People say they make beat tapes, they be on CD. That's cool, but went back to the basics for Brazil. Had to. Might move out here and end up doing all Brazilian cats, you know what I'm saying? You never know. I'll be out here just producing Brazilian cats, singers and rappers. I do my shit for me anyway first, for my health, and then people like it. Damn, thank you.
What topics do you have the best conversations and connections around? Are there certain creative principles or ideas that you'd be willing to really work for, or even if there was no money put on the table at the end of the day? And going back to think about yourself as a younger person or child even, what were those things that got you engaged before the idea of that career actually came in and started to maybe reform certain ways that you reflect on your practice?
So each one I come up with, I'll write down, but they tend to come faster. It's just like conversation.
So it's like having a conversation with yourself, but different characters.
Yeah, like that old homeless guy who's laughing to himself. He's probably doing the same thing without a notebook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I liken it to? I liken it to just joking around the schoolyard.
Finally, and this one wasn't on the script, it's something that just came to me. Look, maybe your art isn't about working through certain types of negative experience or pain, but a lot of art is. So maybe to reflect on what are those experiences or what are those deeper emotional tones that your work deals in, and how can you create forms or follow certain directions in order to actually express those most powerful of emotions that you may feel?
I have no stability. Zero stability in my life as a child. So, you know, when you move around a lot, you see a lot of different things and you have a different perspective than most normal people. You know, a lot of things that people do normally, I had to figure it out. If I didn't grow up in that environment, I definitely wouldn't be here. So ultimately, I'm glad that I grew up the way I did, I guess, even if it was shitty. I'd say I overwork to, you know, fill in a void or something like that where I don't know, a family should be or something like that, you know. But I think that's common for people in this industry or in the entertainment. You know, they throw themselves into their work because there's nothing else really.
I've been talking kind of exhaustively on this channel recently about how important it might be to integrate the self that we are day to day and how we move through the world in all different ways with the way that we might express ourselves when we present our art or stand next to our work in a gallery, for example.
If you don't live it and it's not a part of you, it's not going to come out of the instrument. What we play is life.
What I find is the more spontaneous the writing process, the more it's freestyle, basically and then written down, and the quicker I say it, the more the brain naturally remembers the pattern.
This element of doing you, as in figuring out who you are, what really makes your work and how you want to live unique, then leaning into that fully is a part of this integration. There's a famous story about the beat poet Diane de Prima, which I think kind of demonstrates a little bit about what I'm talking about. One night in the 1950s, Diane was at a party at Allen Ginsberg's place in New York City. They were talking, reading, smoking, drinking until 11:30 p.m. came around, and Diane said that she was going home to relieve her babysitter. Jack Kerouac shouted at Diane, "De Prima, unless you forget about your babysitter, you're never going to be a writer." And Diane didn't listen and walked away and went home anyway. Just like Diane, if we can figure out the way we want to live and the principles that underlie that, whether that's abstaining from certain things around us that society might seem as normal but we decide we don't agree with, or transgressing certain limits in the localized culture around us because we can see that they're not necessary or don't suit our own principles. All these things about how we live can become the base layer that will then inspire actual individual power in our creative work.
I'm getting to a point, which is a part of the realization, where perhaps there's not a context within the industry and the mechanics therein that, as they exist today, that I can find true inspiration from. There's a constellation of inspiration that crosses so many spectrums of society, and I can't access it if I play by these rules.
If we're a DJ, then we're gonna know if every day we've woken up and spent 2 hours flicking through Instagram or doing something else that's not necessarily music related, or if we've woken up and listened through the most recent recommendations that a fellow music lover has sent us and taken the time to categorize a few of these into one of our weekend sets.
I'm constantly striving for perfection. So what I'm doing is constantly elevating and educating myself in a way that, all right, I'm better than I was the previous day. So that could go on forever. There's really gonna not ever be a top. I don't think I'll do it in this lifetime. So to get into the top and staying on top, I don't really have an direct answer for that. Besides, my experience.
What I'm getting at here, and reminding myself as well, is that when we stand next to our work and present it in any way, the reality of actually how we live that sits below that is going to be recognizable to the audience, and they are going to be able to see if you're being real or not.
Musicality helps, man. Some people chop and don't chop. The chord progression ain't right. You have to be able to chop so a live band can replay it over. If you don't, like sometimes people chop and don't chop, then bass line doesn't make any sense. That means a live musician can't play it over because the chord progression is not right.
If we do act one way when we're on show and another way when we're in private, then this idea of finding our individualness and finding some power in that is not going to be able to be accessed. And that you that you're trying to find at the heart of it is going to end up being more of a mirage or a created image, a facsimile of something truly individual, unique, as opposed to that real thing. Okay, I'm going to wrap this one up now, but again, I've put some more notes along with a few more links to interviews that sat in the background of this piece of writing over on the newsletter, which, as I always say, I don't ever send anyone spam, and it's free, so go check out, drop your email there if you want to get this stuff sent directly to you. I'm doing some interviews in February with members of this community, and they're going to go out in full over on that newsletter there too. So if you want to check those out when they do drop, again, go drop your email and you'll get those. There's another video on screen now to reflect the kind of themes around finding your unique voice, that if you want to go and watch something else on this topic. And with all that said, thanks and peace. See you next time.